Welcome to Emma Tales Lovers, where disrespect gets exposed and humiliation doesn't get the last word. These are the stories of wives and girlfriends who try to shame their husbands and boyfriends in public, weaponize family and friends, and treat love like a power game, until the calm comeback rewrites everything. If you've ever been embarrassed, talked down to, or made to feel less than by the person who should protect you, this channel is for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications for raw, realistic humiliation stories with quiet receipts, cold consequences, and hard lessons. Because respect isn't optional. Let's get into it. Grace looked Liam dead in his face, slid the final pink utility notice across their kitchen table in Jackson, Mississippi, and told him maybe the lights kept getting cut off because he brought poverty into every room. Then she laughed when he quietly asked where the grocery money had gone. That same week, while he worked a double shift and came home with swollen feet and a splitting headache, she used to rent money for a weekend at a luxury hotel in Atlanta with a man she had hidden behind fake church meetings and girls' trips. She let her husband feel like a failure while she financed another man's comfort. Here's how it happened. Liam was not a saint, and anybody who tells this story honestly has to start there. Years earlier, before the shut-off notices and overdraft fees and cold silence over dinner, he had cheated on Grace during a rough patch in their marriage. It was not long, not glamorous, and not something he excused with alcohol or loneliness. He did it, got caught, watched Grace break in front of him, and spent years trying to become a man who deserved another chance. He went to counseling at a Baptist church on the South Side, gave her passwords, changed routines, and learned that regret meant work, not speeches. Back when they were younger, before pride and resentment hardened their love into something defensive, Liam and Grace had been beautiful together. They met at a community college outside New Orleans when he made fun of the way she color-coded her notebook tabs. She told him his handwriting looked like a chicken tried to sign legal papers, and he laughed so hard he snorted sweet tea through his nose. She laughed too, the kind of laugh that folds your body in half. Their early romance was built on bus rides, cheap po' boys split in half, and long talks on apartment steps where they dreamed big without having a dime. They married in Baton Rouge with borrowed decorations, a cousin playing keyboard slightly off-tempo, and enough love in the room to make up for what money could not provide. Grace danced with Liam in the fellowship hall after everybody else left, her heels in one hand, his tie hanging loose, both of them sweaty and happy under fluorescent lights. He whispered that one day he would buy her a house with a porch swing and jasmine in the yard. She whispered that she did not need a mansion, just peace, laughter, and a man who came home honest. Life heard them talking and decided to test every word. For a while they did all right. Liam picked up work in warehouse logistics, then as a route supervisor. Grace handled bookkeeping for a small medical office. They moved to Jackson because it was cheaper and closer to her mother. On Fridays they made a game out of stretching leftovers. Grace could turn one rotisserie chicken into soup, tacos, and an argument about whose turn it was to wash dishes. Liam swore dish soap was making his hands too smooth to remain masculine, and she would roll her eyes until she nearly smiled. Those little ordinary rituals kept them warm. Trouble never announces itself first. It studies your routines. The cheating nearly ruined everything. When Grace found the messages on Liam's old phone, she did not scream. She sat down on the edge of the bed and looked smaller somehow, like grief had folded her inward. Liam said every desperate, useless sentence people say when truth drags them into daylight. He hated himself afterward because even his apologies sounded selfish. He moved into a motel for a month, still paid the bills, still answered every call, and came back only when Grace allowed it. She did not forgive him quickly. He accepted that. Some nights she made him sleep on the couch, and he deserved every spring in it. To Liam's credit, once he started repairing what he had broken, he did not stop when the embarrassment faded. He took extra shifts, cut off old contacts, and let his actions become the only argument he made for staying married. He missed card games with friends to attend counseling. He sat through Grace naming every lie he had told her and never once demanded she move on. He learned that trust is not rebuilt in one grand gesture. It gets rebuilt in 100 dull choices. Over time, Grace softened, but not all the way. Something inside her healed crooked, and neither of them admitted that. The money problems began like they do for most working people. One medical bill, one car repair, one slow month, one will catch up next check too many. Then inflation climbed, groceries got disrespectful, and their breathing room disappeared. Liam started working longer hours at a distribution center outside Jackson. He would leave before sunrise and return smelling like cardboard, diesel, and exhaustion. Grace said the numbers never stretched no matter how carefully she budgeted. Liam believed her because she handled the household accounts better than he ever could. He had once betrayed her heart, so he told himself he owed her full trust now. That trust became a blindfold. The criticism came gradually enough that Liam almost mistook it for stress. Grace started calling him slow when bills were late, though he was the one earning overtime. She mocked his lunch containers, his thrift store polos, the cracked leather on his work boots. When the water heater failed, she told her sister on speakerphone that living with Liam felt like auditioning for a poverty documentary. Everybody laughed, including Grace. Liam laughed too because a grown man will laugh at his own humiliation sometimes, just to keep a room from turning all the way cruel. That night he ate cereal for dinner and told himself he had earned the disrespect. The strange thing was Grace never looked stressed the way broke people usually do. She always had fresh nails, smooth lace fronts, and a new perfume she claimed came from clearance at TJ Maxx. Liam noticed but did not push. He had promised not to police her after his own betrayal. Still, little things snagged his attention. She guarded her phone like it contained state secrets. She started taking mysterious training weekends for a job that had never once mentioned travel. She laughed at texts and then looked annoyed if he walked into the room. Liam noticed. He just did not yet know how much noticing would cost him. One Saturday in early spring, Liam tried to surprise Grace with breakfast. He made waffles from a mix, burned the first batch, and set off the smoke detector so aggressively that their neighbor Miss Bernice banged on the wall and yelled that she did not survive 2 husbands and high blood pressure to die in a pancake fire. Grace laughed then, really laughed, and for a few minutes Liam glimpsed the woman he married. She stole a strawberry from his plate, kissed his cheek, and called him ridiculous. He almost cried from relief. Sometimes the loneliest marriages survive on moments that are too brief to count, but too sweet to forget. That afternoon, while Grace napped with one arm over her face, Liam sat on the floor beside the couch and looked at her like a man studying a photograph from a better decade. He remembered road trips to Biloxi with fried catfish and paper bags, her singing old Anita Baker songs off-key, the inside joke about every Waffle House waitress named Denise being secretly in charge of the federal government. He remembered how she used to squeeze his hand twice in crowded places to say, without speaking, "I'm with you." Love had not fully died in him. That made what came later worse, because betrayal hurts deeper when tenderness still survives. The first hard clue arrived in the most ridiculous way possible. Liam was cleaning out the back seat of Grace's car because she said there was a mildew smell. Under a fast food bag and a tangled umbrella, he found a tiny gold gift receipt from a luxury boutique in Houston for a men's watch that cost more than their monthly electric bill. At first he assumed fraud. Then he saw the note scrawled at the bottom in Grace's handwriting. "For our next trip. You deserve better than what she sees." Liam sat in the driveway so long that the Mississippi heat soaked through his shirt and the ice in his drink dissolved. He did not confront her immediately. That was one of the most important choices he made. Old Liam would have exploded, demanded, accused, and maybe let himself be manipulated by tears or anger. This Liam went quiet. He took photos of the receipt, put it back exactly where he found it, and started watching patterns instead of moods. Over the next 2 weeks, he noticed late-night cash withdrawals, rideshare charges in cities Grace had never mentioned, and a storage unit payment auto-drafted each month. His stomach turned colder with each discovery. The facts stacked up with a terrible patience. Grace was not surviving beside him. She was feeding another life. The secret man's name was Marcus. Liam learned that from a bona fide bill Grace forgot to fully hide in a kitchen drawer beneath takeout menus. Marcus lived in Atlanta, wore too much cologne according to the few photos Liam found, and had the polished smile of a man who practiced seeming successful more than actually being successful. Grace sent him money through payment apps disguised as utility vendors and family reimbursements. She covered his flights, hotel rooms, sneakers, even part of the down payment on a truck. Liam's chest burned reading it all. She had looked at shut-off notices with him by candlelight while funding another man's soft living. What broke Liam most was not the sex. It was the contempt. Grace described him in messages like he was some embarrassing burden she had outgrown. She told Marcus Liam was too damaged to leave because guilt made him easy to control. She bragged that he would work overtime, apologize for things from years ago, and never question her spending because he still felt lucky she stayed. Marcus answered with laughing emojis and called Liam the sponsor husband. Liam had been many bad things in his life, but reading strangers make a joke out of his effort cut him in a way cheating never had. Shame tastes different when shared. The betrayal spread wider than Grace and Marcus. Her sister Renee knew. Liam discovered that after overhearing half a phone conversation through the laundry room door. Renee told Grace not to worry because Liam too humble to cause a scene. Their mother knew enough to suspect, maybe more. Even a co-worker had helped cover one fake training trip. Liam stood there holding a basket of unmatched socks, realizing entire rooms had smiled at him while he carried groceries, fixed toilets, and borrowed money to keep the gas on. There is a special loneliness in learning that people discussed your humiliation casually, as if your suffering were ordinary household entertainment. Liam nearly did something stupid. He drove halfway to Atlanta one night with his jaw clenched so hard his temples hurt. He imagined dragging Marcus out of some hotel lobby, imagined forcing truth into public, imagined 100 dramatic scenes that would only leave him looking broken and dangerous. Somewhere near Birmingham, he pulled into a gas station, bought bad coffee, and stared at himself in a bathroom mirror that made everybody look guilty. He saw a tired black man with good reasons to lose control and even better reasons not to. He drove back to Jackson before dawn. Revenge, he decided, had to be quiet enough to survive afterward. Quiet revenge is less glamorous than movies make it. Mostly it looks like paperwork, discipline, and shutting your mouth while your heart shakes. Liam met with a lawyer in Ridgeland during a lunch break and brought printed bank statements, screenshots, receipts, and copies of lease records. He learned which debts were joint, which accounts could be separated, and how to protect himself without tipping Grace off. Then he met with a financial counselor at his credit union and finally faced his own carelessness. He had trusted without verifying because guilt made him passive. That flaw was his. Fixing it would be part of whatever new life came next. Liam changed his direct deposit. He opened a new account Grace could not access. He paid off the debts tied directly to his name and stopped covering luxury charges disguised as household needs. He documented everything with the dull persistence of a man sanding down a coffin. At home, he acted normal. He nodded through Grace's complaints, let her call him cheap, and even apologized when she snapped about the thermostat. The funniest part, if you can call anything funny in a marriage dying from fraud, was how offended she seemed when the money began tightening. She treated missing access to his labor like a personal betrayal. During this season, Liam found unexpected comfort in small human moments. Miss Bernice from next door, who had knees louder than church tambourines, started slipping him 4 wrapped slices of pound cake and pretending she had accidentally baked too much. His friend Deshaun from Wyke noticed Liam staring at spreadsheets during lunch and joked that he looked like an IRS agent hunting sinful aunties. Liam laughed for real, the first honest laugh in weeks. Deshaun did not pry. He just sat there eating barbecue chips loud enough to be annoying and told Liam, "Whatever it is, handle it clean so you can sleep later." That advice stayed with him because it was simple and true. Grace kept spending as if Liam's paycheck were a river with no source. She ordered furniture for the storage unit, bought Marcus a chain, and booked another training weekend in Atlanta. When Liam quietly said they might need to cut back, she called him insecure and accused him of trying to punish her because he couldn't provide at a man's level. That phrase settled in him like a stone. He wanted to remind her he had been providing for 3 adults without consent. Instead, he washed his dinner plate, dried his hands, and said nothing. Grace mistook silence for weakness. People often do when they have never seen discipline sharpen into distance. There was one last romantic scene before the end, and it mattered because it showed Liam what kind of man he still wanted to be. On their anniversary, Grace forgot the date entirely. Liam remembered, bought takeout from the Little Soul food place they loved, and lit one candle on the table more out of ritual than hope. Grace came home late, said she was tired, and barely touched the peach cobbler. After she went to bed, Liam sat alone in the kitchen and remembered dancing with her years ago in that church hall. He cried hard and quietly, grieving not just betrayal but the version of them that once deserved saving. The collapse started with ordinary consequences, not lightning from heaven. Grace's latest payment to Marcus bounced because Liam's income no longer floated her hidden account. Marcus became irritated fast, then distant. Suddenly the man who called her queen had poor reception, urgent meetings, and crazy weeks. The Atlanta hotel canceled a reservation she could not secure with maxed-out cards. The truck note Marcus expected her to cover went unpaid. Their landlord in Jackson posted a warning over late rent because Grace had assumed Liam would transfer more money automatically. She ripped the notice down before he got home, but he had already seen the emailed copy through shared records. Then came the storage unit. Grace had been using it to hide designer bags, shoes, and electronics she claimed were gifts or discounts. When the autopay failed twice, the company cut access and prepared the contents for land processing. She panicked and drove across town in a fury, only to learn that several items inside had already been inventoried toward recovery. She called Renee cussing so loud the phone nearly distorted. Liam, sitting in his car nearby after leaving the lawyer's office, watched her pacing in the parking lot, hair undone by wind, luxury slipping into desperation. He felt no joy yet, just a sober recognition that gravity had finally located her. Grace confronted Liam that night, but not with confession. She came in hot, accusing him of sabotaging finances, being secretive, acting funny, and trying to control her. Liam listened until she ran out of rehearsed outrage. Then he laid out copies of statements, travel records, boutique receipts, payment transfers, and a message calling him a sponsor husband. Grace did not cry. She did not apologize. She did not even look ashamed. She just looked angry that the audience had stopped being stupid. She called him pathetic for snooping. Liam told her calmly that protecting himself after sustained theft was not snooping. It was survival. That was the end of the marriage. What made the karma satisfying was how realistic it was. Liam filed for divorce, and because he had documented everything, Grace's secret spending became impossible to wave away as simple marital conflict. Some of the debts sat squarely with her. Questions about fraudulent tax filings and misrepresented expenses followed right behind. Marcus disappeared completely once the money dried up and legal trouble sniffed around. He did not ride in like some loyal lover. He changed his number. Meanwhile, the car Grace had insisted on driving as proof she still had standards was repossessed outside her apartment complex before sunrise. Miss Bernice saw it happen through her blinds and later muttered, "Well, praise accountability." Liam moved to Dallas for a better operations job arranged through a former supervisor. He rented a modest one-bedroom, cooked for himself badly at first, and learned that peace can feel strange when chaos has been your wallpaper. He burned salmon so terribly the smoke alarm screamed like it had personal grievances. He laughed alone in his kitchen and ordered tacos instead. On Sundays he walked around White Rock Lake, not to become profound, just to hear his own thoughts without interruption. He did not announce his comeback to anybody. He built credit, stacked savings, bought decent boots, and let private stability become the loudest thing about him. Over time, Liam became successful in the least theatrical way possible. He earned a promotion, then another. He furnished his apartment slowly, cash only. He sent money to his mother, tipped generously when he could, and kept one framed photo from the good years not because Grace deserved the honor, but because Liam refused to let bitterness edit every memory into poison. He also told the truth about himself. When friends acted like he had been a perfect victim, he corrected them. He had once cheated. He had once confused remorse with transformation. But he had also learned to make his wrongs right. And that made all the difference between shame and growth. The moral, if there has to be one, is not that suffering magically turns people noble or that karma always arrives on schedule. It is simpler and harder than that. Love without honesty rots. Guilt without boundaries invites exploitation. And when someone keeps punishing you long after you have changed, they are no longer seeking healing. They are feeding on power. Grace never showed remorse, not even at the end. Liam never got a dramatic apology or public vindication. What he got was better, clarity, discipline, and a private life no longer built around earning mercy from someone who enjoyed his pain. Sometimes the deepest revenge is not destruction. It is becoming unreachable. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.